Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. And it's my retreat update episode that I have been promising. And while I'm still in the energy of the retreat and the holiday and my time off, I wanted to record it as soon as possible. So it's literally 2 days, 3 days after getting back home. And there's so much that I want to share, but I also want to not have this episode be 3 hours long. And there was a lot of magical things that happened at the retreat that were other people's stories, so I don't really want to share that without their permission. So just enjoy this episode. And if you're feeling called to do something, go somewhere, please follow that because this was another experience for me where I didn't really need to go. I had the calling, I had the inspiration, I had the download to go earlier this year, post breakup. I think a week or so after my breakup, I was like, right, I need to get lots of plans. I need to stay busy. I really want to go on holiday. So even if I'm not with my ex-partner, that doesn't mean that I can't go abroad. I've been away on my own before and I actually really love it. And because I went on my first ever retreat last year and had the best time, I thought a retreat would be the perfect fit. And it definitely was. My soul was telling me that I needed to go there, and just even the timings, the theme, the place that it was, everything just sounded really perfect for me. So it was the Mindspo company retreat, and they have a few different ones, but this was the Empress one. So it was a collab between Mindspo, which is run by Rochelle Fox and Chris Saul, and Megan Rose Lane. I have followed both of their work individually for years and then realized that they were friends and that they held these retreats. And this was the fourth one, but it is the last one now. And I'm really honored that I got to be a part of it. Even the retreat that I went on last year with Alexandra Maria, if you listen to that episode, scroll back to March 2024, that was the last one that she's doing for a while. So am I the problem? Am I the reason that you're stopping these? But yeah, post breakup, I was like, I need to do some healing, and I felt really called to the theme with it being the Empress retreat. So it's all about your feminine energy, and this one had a little bit more free time than the one last year. So it's a really rejuvenating, restful experience as well. Got to go on the beach in the afternoons, sit by the pool, but then in the mornings and the evenings we'd do workshops and meditations. And yeah, I could have gone on a solo trip somewhere else. I was even thinking because this cost probably in total close to £4,000 with the retreat. I did get my own room this time because that was another expense that wasn't necessary, but having shared a room last time, I just found that at the end of the day, I needed my own space, and I'm really glad that I invested in myself in that way. It was like an extra 1,000 for that option, and my ego and my conscious brain was thinking that is such a huge amount of money for just your own room, and you could just do it on the cheap. You could just go on holiday somewhere else for £1,000 and go and do your own journaling and inner work there. But if I've learned anything, it's that me investing in myself and following these nudges from my intuition always pays off. The money always comes back around, but the time and the experiences are literally priceless. So again, if it's the same for you, you need to follow that. But what I really want to stress is that I would never have been able to do something like this and go on such an amazing experience and be ready to do this work because it was quite intense work. I'll share a little bit more what was actually covered shortly. But I would not have been able to do a retreat like this and go on some of the experiences and trips that I have if I hadn't have done the physical healing work first because of how tired I was, how much brain fog I had. I wouldn't have been able to take anything in. I wouldn't have been able to navigate the airport. I would have been so anxious to be in an unknown place with an unknown group of people, to be sharing my experiences and my thoughts and my opinions on certain things. I would have been bloated 24/7, wouldn't have been able to tolerate the foods from the catering. I would have felt so self-conscious about my body and not wanted to be in a bathing suit or wear nice clothes. So for me, starting with the healing work, and it's the same for a lot of my clients, then allows you to do some of this deeper work. Sometimes you're not ready to face your shadows. You're not ready to like live your dream life and go deeper into areas around your relationship or your money or your career because you feel so bad. You're just living day to day. You are just trying to make it through the next 24 hours. You're not feeling inspired and motivated and ready to do some of these things, which is totally understandable. And that's why doing the physical work, the gut healing, the detox work, the mineral balancing, regulating your hormone levels, for me is the first step, and it will just elevate everything else you do massively, your relationships, the work that you do, and the experiences that you can have because you just feel so good. And when you're then in these events and retreats, you can get even more out of it because you're not spending the whole week feeling terrible. There was many years that I didn't go on any holidays because it just did not feel worth it. It didn't feel like I was getting anything out of it, and it was just trying to heal in a different location, and it just made it more complex and more stressful. So if you are wanting to do this deeper physical healing work, I will share a little bit more towards the end of the episode on how you can do that with me because it's my jam, it's my thing, and I'm really good at it. So the last retreat that I went on was in May 2024. And that was a big deal. That was a pivotal moment in my life and my healing journey. I did a podcast episode, which I will link in the show notes. But something internally really shifted after that retreat, and it wasn't instant. I even shared in the episode that I got home and I felt a little bit off for a few weeks. I just felt a little bit uncomfortable and a little bit trapped and stuck and frustrated, like I'd just come from this major high and then was just back into reality. And there was so much that I wanted to shift, and I just felt like I was falling back into old patterns and habits again. And I lost a lot of the momentum that we built on the retreat. This time's been very different. I mean, I'm only 2, 3 days in to being back at home, but I really feel like I'm going to be able to keep up that momentum now. And I don't want what happened last time to happen again. And things started to shift slowly. So it was in May, and then I'd say around September time when I turned 30 as well, everything just coincided that I started to notice that I was reacting differently in different situations, or things were feeling different internally. I was more relaxed, I was more present, and I just saw that in hindsight that things had shifted slowly, but I was going into it expecting this miraculous transformation overnight, which can happen, but it's not always the case. So I'd gone from on that retreat being still focused on mindset, personal development. I've done this stuff for years, like 10 years. I've loved all of this stuff, but it was really the spirituality side of things that deepened on that trip because we would the person who ran it would talk about our angel guides, who would do our um she would help with our energy bodies, and we would use sage and Palo Santo to cleanse our energy every day before stepping into this sacred yoga shala. And I at that trip felt like my heart was opening, and I've shared this before, but it is significant and something that has really changed my life over the past year is connecting into my heart, because as a kid I just shut down my emotions. I didn't really express them. I thought it was a good thing that I didn't ever cry, and then it became part of my personality. And then it wasn't until I got into my last relationship and especially on this retreat, I started to connect with my heart a bit more and finally allowed myself to cry and process. And that has been so healing for me. And it was my favorite thing to do. Even just thinking about the heart, and in a meditation, if anyone mentions the heart space, it just makes me feel so much gratitude and love. And I cry very often now. I feel like I'm catching up on lost time, all of those years that I just suppressed and shut everything down. But knowing now that we have this energy body and there's this other aspect to health that is very commonly overlooked. We have the physical body, but then we also have the energetic body. We have the physical realm, and then we also have the energetic spiritual realm, the 3D versus the 5D. And it is it is really important. That's the secret combination, in my opinion, is to, yes, do the nutrition changes and the blood sugar balancing and the liver detox strategies and practices, but also looking at your mindset and your morning routines and your nervous system regulation. And that combination is the secret sauce. So I've really noticed, just comparing the two retreats as well, um, the level of comfort I have now with being vulnerable and sharing a little bit more openly about myself. I was very closed off for a long time. I didn't want to share and seem vulnerable in front of other people, but now I see it as a superpower and it shows a lot of strength, and you can learn a lot about yourself when other people do that. So I want to have that be a gift for other people when they see you sharing your your fears or things that have held you back, they feel like they can do that as well. And the big thing for me was always around social anxiety, especially in new situations and groups where I need to talk in front of a lot of people. Definitely if it's nothing related to my expertise. If I've done lots and lots of talks and workshops now on nutrition and hormones, so I feel more confident in that. But if I don't know what to expect and they just throw random questions at us, I used to feel really, really nervous about that, especially anything vulnerable, opening up, sharing about yourself. Even last year, I did find it challenging, but this year, I noticed a massive improvement from all of this inner work that I've been doing and all of this healing. Yeah, within the past 12 months, especially. And I'm going to share a few things today, what we covered in the workshops, and also what I learned and got out of it. But Rochelle Fox was part of the Mindspo team, and she has a really amazing book called Magnetic. I nearly forgot then. Magnetic, really good book. That came out earlier this year, and that's when I started to follow her work a little bit more closely, because I followed it for years and then I just kind of fell off for a while. And then when her book came out, I was like, oh yeah, I really love this woman. Her workshops were more focused on manifestation, which I love anyway. And I was really familiar with a lot of the content, but just being in her energy, she is so magnetic. And some of the things that she said in the workshop, just phrased in a particular way, really hit home. They just hit differently. And that is definitely what I needed, even though it wasn't new information. Sometimes it just lands and you're like, oh yeah, I really get it now. But just the overall theme was that your mind is so powerful and really can create your reality. Sol, her partner, Chris Sol, led us through daily meditations. And one of the biggest things that I learned from this retreat as well is that I was really resistant to any non-guided meditations. The meditations are mainly mantra meditations. So you would focus on a particular mantra. So on the inhale, they used I think it's so, and then on the exhale it's hum, or a variation like that, some sa. And I even, before the retreat, because as part of Rochelle's book launch, you got access to her app for about 6 months, I think. So I tried this meditation. It's the daily mindful meditation, and I turned it off after a few minutes because it was just you sitting there trying to bring your thoughts back to the present and your breath. And I was like, oh no, I love the guided stuff. I need some more thoughts, really, which is going against the objective of meditation. But just the way that he explained it, that your mind is going to think and it is going to be really busy. And sometimes doing a lot of guided meditations is just adding to the noise. And we want to see it as a workout where every time our thoughts wander, we bring it back to the present moment. And that, like, pulling back, if you're watching me on video now, I'm literally doing like a rep with my arm. the arm muscle. So we're working the mental muscle, and that is actually strengthening it. And people were asking him, do you ever think during meditations? Because it's around 20 minutes that you want to aim for minimum. That's the sweet spot. And he said, all the time. I always have to bring my mind back, but it gets a lot faster that I can recognize my mind is wandering. And it's a lot easier then during the day to stay present and stay aware of the mental chatter. Because at the end of the day, we are the thinker of our thoughts. We aren't the thoughts themselves. So just becoming aware of what is going on in your mind and not believing everything that you think. We have these different voices in our head. One might be our parents, one might be our inner critic or our inner bitch, as Rochelle likes to call her. One might be the inner scared child at 6 years old, where we felt really left out and we felt really unloved. So we need to just recognize our thoughts and not jump in to try and fix or suppress everything that comes up. We just want to recognize them and let them go if they aren't being supportive. And there's usually a voice of our higher self somewhere in that combination that gives us that confidence and can help us to make the right decisions to go after our desires or behave in a certain way. That higher self identity, there's usually an intuitive little voice in there that might be a bit quiet, but you can definitely strengthen that up when you quieten the others. So I have been just, I have really recognized now the importance of a still mind and presence. I learned a little bit more about this in the Dr. Joe retreat back in February, but it was this retreat. And even if this is the one thing that I took out of this week, there's more than this, but just understanding that the stillness and silence and presence in this moment is major and it's all that we actually ever have. And now I am sticking with the mantra meditation every single morning, and it's challenging and I want to switch it up. I want to try different ones, but he said, just stick with it, give it at least 30 days. But I get it now, and that makes it a lot easier to follow through with. I just want to take a quick pause to ask you a really important question. Where do you want your health to be in 6 months' time? More energized, feeling comfortable in your skin and body again, excited for life because you're finally starting to see improvements with your health, or frustrated and depressed because you're still struggling with symptoms, which are taking over your life and stopping you from living life to the full. If you want the first option, you're going to have to do something different. After all, the definition of insanity is doing the same things over again and expecting a different result. If you're DIYing your health, meaning trying to heal yourself through researching, trial and error, wasting a lot of money and time in the process, then you could be sabotaging your results. Would you try and fix your car if it broke and you didn't know what was wrong with it? No. So why are you trying to do it all alone when it comes to the most important thing that we have in our life, our health? Trust me, actually asking for help and investing in yourself saves you time, money, and a lot of stress in the long run. I know you're probably not getting any answers or support from your doctor. I've been there too. That's why I created my 6-month signature hormone reset package. This one-to-one coaching package offers the highest level of support and transformation as we'd be closely working together to identify and address the underlying root causes of your health issues. Even if you're already eating healthy and taking supplements, there's so much more to healing, so don't feel like you've tried it all. Let me help you figure out what's causing your stubborn symptoms and support your body in healing naturally, which, in case no one has ever told you, is completely possible. Check out my website, which is linked in the episode show notes for more information, and the links to apply or book an enrollment call are there if you want to chat further. If you've been looking for a sign, this is it. And then in Megan's workshops were a little bit deeper, looking at our shadow self. So these are the parts of us that we have shame around and that we bury deep down in the subconscious, we hide away, and then we put on these masks, these personas to try and act like this perfect version of us. And that leaves us feeling not 100% authentic and like a fragmented fragmented version of ourselves. So these are things that can hold us back from our self-love, our authenticity, our higher selves, and even our feminine energy. So we all have shadows, and consciously they might seem ridiculous. We could deep down in the shadow feel unloved or unworthy, but you consciously don't really feel that day to day. Like, yeah, I have a partner who loves me and my family love me, but it's still this 5-year-old child who felt like they weren't seen or couldn't express themselves fully or had to act differently to feel loved. So this was powerful, and there were lots of tears shed in this, but for most people it came back to not feeling worthy or not feeling loved. And even though everyone has different life situations going on, you'd be surprised that these are the common themes that they all come back to at the end of the day. In one of the meditations and journaling sessions, she had us go back to this part of us that felt unloved or unworthy. And the majority of the group, and even the example she gave, she was saying it's somewhere in childhood. But for me, it was actually my early 20s during all of these health issues that I went through. And even on the last retreat, this all came up again because it was a significant part of my life. It was a trauma. And I thought I worked on it then, but obviously not. There was more to come up. And sometimes we we have these deeper layers that we need to go to. So for me, it was my 21-year-old self that came to mind. And yeah, I really got to work on that. And you want to get to the point where they feel loved and accepted and okay, and they might not ever fully go away. Some of them can, but even if you are just aware that they're there, a lot of people have anxious attachment styles, and that might not ever fully go away. I definitely anything's possible, but it could just be that when you recognize that part of you being triggered, you just self-soothe and can keep that part of you as happy as possible and just really calm them down and just let them know that you are loved and you've got yourself. And really focusing on internal validation was a big one for me as well, because at the end of the day, all you have in this life is you, and you come into this world and you leave this world just you. So you want to be as happy as possible. We can have these connections, but you shouldn't be relying on something externally long term to make you happy, because that's really, yeah, a dangerous thing. One of my favorite things about the whole retreat was the connection and friendships that I made with the other women there. The girls in my villa, so we all had our own, well, there were multiple different villas, and then there was a main one that we do all the workshops in, and we were matched so well. Well, at least in my villa. I think it was based on our intake forms and also astrology, so they absolutely smashed that job, and everyone was so lovely, and we formed a connection really quickly. Within a day or so, everyone was getting on really well. And the sisterhood aspect, the community aspect, is really, really important. And for the longest time, because of the health stuff, and I just thought I was this introvert who didn't really need friends. I could catch up with someone a few times a year and be absolutely fine, but I really do need these connections, and I think I just got stuck in my own ways. And I'm less of an introvert than I thought I was, because I just need to be around the right people. I can get drained from just very surface level fake people and conversations. I think that's the problem. But these amazing women who were on the retreat were just so like soul connected, and everyone was there for the right reason. A few people had just gone through these major life changes and traumas very close to the retreat, and they said that it's been very healing and was absolutely the thing that they needed to get them through that time. The oxytocin and the feminine energy at the end of the retreat was at like, there was sky high. I even put in our group chat after the trip had ended and I was on the way home from the airport that I kept wanting to touch people, like women If they were chatting with me, I just wanted to like put my hand on their shoulder, or someone bumped into me with their suitcase. I was like, oh, it's okay. And like, just, we were so just in our feminine and just wanting to connect with people. But I understand it's not socially acceptable to do that. So I need to be careful. Everyone's periods were syncing up. It was some crazy, crazy stuff. And one of the girls in the retreat actually lives really close to me. So I've made a connection, and we even hung out just over 12 hours after getting home. We got in at like 3, 4 a.m. And then we had a feminine breathwork session in Manchester at 11 a.m. We went for lunch, we went for matcha, we went to an organic grocery store called Unicorn, which I love. And that is just another thing. If that one friendship is what I take from this whole retreat, I would have been happy, but I got so much more out from that. That was a nice cherry on top of the cake, doing that breathwork session. It's always really powerful for me. And there was no breathwork on the retreat, but my friend Georgia, she found it online, and we'd both never been to this new studio, and it was really, really lovely. And that's going to be a new favorite place that I go to. It's called Soul Bank in Salford, if you are local and interested. And there's so much more that I can say, but my biggest takeaways were that this deep inner work, exploring these uncomfortable things like trauma, unsupportive relationships, limiting belief, this is where the magic happens. And it's so much harder than taking a supplement or changing your diet. There's always going to be things to work on, but it's also so liberating, it's so freeing. And another thing that Megan stressed is that we have the ability and the opportunity to do this work. And in the past, in history, our female ancestors wouldn't have been able to do this stuff. And a lot of women around the world still aren't able to do this, and they don't have the privilege that we do. So it is our responsibility now to be the change makers for future generations to come, and to do it for the women in the past who couldn't. And I don't know about you, but I am willing to do the work while I have this opportunity. Not only does it make my life better, but it has such a ripple effect as well to my clients, to my family, even being around my niece, and just trying to act in the best way possible around her, because I know that her brain, she's nearly 2 years old, is in the subconscious hypnosis state, and she's just a sponge soaking up everything. So I want to try and be a positive influence for her. And as I mentioned at the start, I needed to begin with the physical rebalancing. Otherwise, all of this stuff would have seemed way too much. I would have procrastinated. I would have not even known what I needed to work on. I wouldn't have even thought I had any trauma. But I really did. Everyone has trauma, big T, little t trauma, because it's all about not the events that happened, but how you responded to it. So your trauma could have been you being laughed at in class when you were reading from a book, and then you just never expressed yourself and you shut down your voice and your power. You could have had a bad relationship, and then you've just closed off your heart to love again. So if it's coming off the pill, regulating your nervous system, healing your gut, then working on the trauma, that is for me the ideal situation. You need to physically be able to detox and have that physical energy and strength to emotionally detox, and to have the brain capacity to go into some of these deeper areas. And then you might feel like you have this new lease on life, and you want to start that business, you want to start dating again, you want to lean more into manifestation, spirituality, and go after your dream career. The good thing is, my one-to-one coaching package can help you with both of these things, because I do the physical healing work with you, but I also touch on the subconscious tools. I'm not a trauma coach, so if it's anything deep, then you would go on to someone else afterwards, and you'd be in a much better place to deal with that then. But we will definitely be starting on some of the mindset things, some of the subconscious and energy body with EFT tapping, hypnosis, visualization are just some of the tools that I incorporate into my 6-month one-to-one coaching package. The combination, as I said, is where the magic happens. And my signature group program, it's called Reprogram, is going to be available later in the year. I'm thinking September time. But in the meantime, if you want to spend the next 6 months really going deep into your transformation on this holistic 360 level, then check the link in my bio for more information. It's called the Hormone Reset Package, but I'm actually doing a little rebrand come June, so stay tuned for that. There is a special offer this month. When you sign up to this one-to-one coaching package, you'll also receive a personalized hypnosis track. Hypnosis has been an amazing tool for me to help rewire those limiting beliefs and plant the seeds of new pathways and new beliefs that I want to install instead. So hypnosis slows down the brain waves, passes that critical factor of the brain, the conscious mind, where it just rejects new information or rejects any change. It tries to keep you stuck. So we go into the theta brainwave state, the hypnosis trance-like state, and that is the really powerful state that you can actually rewire the brain. It's not stuck forever just because you've struggled with anxiety pretty much your whole life doesn't mean that has to be your future as well. So I would love to create a custom track for you. You would tell me your goals, what you want to work on, if it's just health stuff or if it's a combination of a few different things. And yeah, it's an amazing tool, and I would love you to get your hands on this track, this freebie and this bonus for the month of May. All the details are going to be in the show notes. If you've got any questions, let me know. I do offer a free 30-minute enrollment call. If you want to chat, you want to go through your current situation, your health history, just let me know what is going on with you and what you want to work on. And then if it's a good fit, then we can go ahead and get started with the package. So that is all for this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed. And I will be back next week with another recap about my event that I did on Saturday, the 17th of May. So I've not yet done it, so we shall see what comes of that. But it's going to be an amazing day if you're there. Yeah, I hope you had the best time, but I'll see you in the next episode.